Hi, everybody. This is your host, Jon Toker from Car Biz Insider. I have another great guest here with me today from Chatham Honda, Todd Bennet. Todd, how are you doing today?
Good, John. Good. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. It's a pleasure. So you're someone that I respect a lot because I'm kind of like following your footsteps in terms of this consulting business because you were a consultant in the past too. So I'm sure you're going to talk about it. But I always respect you a lot. So I really appreciate you making up this time and come here today because, you're just closing the month end probably and you have a lot of work to do. So thank you for being on the show, Todd.
Oh, no, again, thanks for having me.
No problem. So,
I feel the same way about you. I mean, obviously are a consultant for about 3 years and you really helped us out. And, I look up to you as well. Yeah. Again, thanks for having me on. It's
no problem, Todd.
my first time.
First podcast ever?
First podcast ever. I listened
Nice.
to a lot of them. Yeah.
So why don't you introduce yourself to the viewers? Because I'm sure there's some people know you, some people don't. So let's talk about who's Todd Bennet. What does he do? Maybe talk about some, mountain biking and stuff and all those goodies.
Yeah. Well, I started in the business in 1996 in a Ford store in a town that I grew up in, selling, and kind of worked my way up and worked at some different brands. You mentioned I did some consulting. I am a certified Hubbard sales trainer with Peter Hubbard and Shane Bolster. Again, another guy that I look up to. He's helped me out a lot in my career. But I got hired here in about 2014 as the general manager of the store, and at that time it was called Honda House. And recently it was bought out by the Road Sport Auto Group. And like I said, September. So now we're Chatham Honda, and it's been exciting. I'm the general manager and partner. So it's almost like working at the store for the first time since we've taken over. It's a new place and it's been exciting. But yeah.
So basically, Road Sport Honda is owned by Chris Gauthier, and his wife is running the store, and they're very successful operators, Honda operators, right, for a long time. So, and Chatham Honda has been a very successful operation for it's one of the oldest Honda stores in the country because your dealer code is 6702, so it's like one of the first ones, right?
It's not as old as Road Sport Honda. Road Sport Honda, I think, is over 50 years.
They're one of the originals. So the first one I think was Dalt's Honda down somewhere in North York. I think then Road Sport, and these are the original Honda dealerships in Ontario in Canada. And I was very excited to work with you guys because that was one of the reasons, because I used to come visit your store and it was amazing because lots of experience, and previous owner John Elliott was a great gentleman. Sit down, talk to him, and it was a good experience talking to you guys. And the transition now, you guys even gonna get stronger now because I believe lots of experience, lots of knowledge going on. And
Road Sport Honda or Road Sport Auto Group has brought a lot of experience, but there's a lot of things they bring to the table. We have a dedicated fixed operations consultant. We have a full HR department. Chris Gauthier is I've always looked up to him. He's got just a wealth of knowledge. I mean, if I ever need help, or he seems to kind of already be ahead of the curve, and it's this store has a lot of potential to get to that next level, and we're definitely going to get there now for sure.
There's no doubt about it, man. You guys have a very good team. You got Chris there, Lou there, very good synergy going on, and that was always a pleasure,
Yeah, I mean, I've been in the auto industry for 26 years, but I worked with Chris DeGraw 20 years ago at a Nissan store in London. So our kind of paths circled around, and he's a great GSM and a good leader here as well.
Well, I prepared some questions for you because I think you got a really good story to talk about it. And what I mean by is like your store was one of the actually it was the last physical dealer visit I have conducted
Oh,
before the
really?
COVID kicked in. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
So the last visit I came to your store, do the my typical monthly visits and stop by and we're talking about Chris DeGraw about this new virus coming out called COVID, and we're like saying, "Oh, this is just gonna be like cold, not a big deal. Like
Yeah.
it's gonna be fine, and we don't have to worry about it." And we're talking about it,
Hmm.
and then I came home. I was ready to go to Ottawa next week to do my Ottawa visits, and I got an email saying that everything is canceled. Stay at home, wait for the instructions. I'm like, that's not good. And then we start doing our virtual contacts, and that 2022 the beginning was basically like I would call a very uncertain times. And then
Hmm.
Omvik jumps in and said you can't accept customers unless there's a appointment going on. And then how do you generate appointments without having customers? Because like in the past what we do was Saturday customers come in, right? 20 customers. We do our test drives and all that stuff. With the people that we couldn't sell, we follow up and to book the appointment for the following week. That was our appointment understanding pretty much. I mean, we did the events and the database mining, but that wasn't
Yeah.
a primary business setup, right?
Yeah.
But the thing was you guys did amazing actually your numbers, like can you basically, and that was my question, was how did you handle COVID-19 restrictions and how did it affect your sales? Could you tell us about that a little bit?
I think like every store out there when it happened, everything was reactive at first. Matter of fact, I don't know about Canada, but definitely we're the first store in Ontario to close before we were mandated to close. It was only about a week that was the case, but some other stores in the city were closing up, and I thought, thinking about all the expenses, if nobody's going to come in because of the virus, why pay a bunch of people to be here when we, and keep the lights on and heat the place, So, I'm not at the time. I'd go home every night wondering if that was, or not, be home every day wondering if that was the right decision. But there's a lot of things that we did that to kind of like proactively try to get people to buy cars. Like, 'cause I don't know if you remember, but it was almost like taboo if you were to call somebody and invite them in the store when this thing was going on. So you have to be kind of careful on how you would reach out to some people. But the business changed itself. Like we found that like when we get a lead or someone would call in, it was such, I guess in the business we call it a qualified lead, where the person would come in and all of a sudden we've seen the closing ratios on these customers very high, right? It was a lot less work with people, and the buying experience is almost better because the customer knew what they wanted, they knew what they were going to pay. The negotiations that add the stress and the discomfort for the buyer and the seller seem to dissipate. We found our customer satisfaction scores going up and stuff like that. But we started to in the beginning we would reach out to people through our database and send them an email or a mailer, and kind of encouraging them that we can do a lot of this without them coming in. And I think I'm definitely not alone in this. It's not like I try to reinvent the wheel or anything, but we decided to go, sort of full blast at it. And at that time we had inventory and it worked out. So it wasn't really much magic there, John. So,
But like when we look at your numbers though, like how would you comment on like 2020 numbers? Because everybody thought, this is not really, this is not going to end well. And some dealers lost a lot of business compared to year over year numbers. But how was your numbers
yeah,
versus 19 to 20?
well, it wasn't as good as it was in 21, but we had a great back half of the year, and it's hard to speak for dealers that that lost their shirts and stuff because maybe they didn't try to adapt. We definitely tried to have software in our system where someone could actually buy a car from front to start. Now, mind you, there was nobody that actually logged in and bought, worked out.
Nobody bought a car online, right? Start to
No,
finish.
no
Like
one,
you never
no one
see
would
that.
start to finish. You'd get some people would get their car, their trade loaded up, but they still wanted help.
Yeah, I
I
remember you
don't
guys
think. Sorry, go ahead.
on your website. You guys had that tool, and like people can go and complete the purchase completely online. But like,
Yeah,
I don't think you guys ever sold start to finish because the consumer doesn't want that. Like they
no,
still want to come and talk to you somehow, some part of the process, even though you had a really good streamlined process.
yeah,
And but
yeah,
I think what I personally saw what the success was, you guys did a phenomenal job mining your database, and
yeah.
you guys really went after that and service customers and all that stuff. You always had this good BDC set up there in your dealership too for service and sales. And
Yeah, we really focused hard on the that trade proposition with customers when they came in, right? Some people come in, their car needs more work than they thought, and so we kind of like headed that off a little bit, instead of them leaving, we'd offer no charge appraisals. We used, obviously, I could probably say Auto Alert, right?
yeah,
Um, and it certainly helped us identify the right customers that would be willing to trade based on their buying history and their service history and all that kind of stuff. It quickly identifies which are the customers most likely to purchase. So they're the easy conversations to have, and people that wanted to take advantage took advantage, and the ones that didn't, then contact you again later.
well, I believe you guys did overall a pretty good job, and it was pleasure, always dealing with you guys, and you guys were always open and flexible, and looking at always better, like areas to improve your dealership's operations. And you guys never like, oh, we know everything, just leave us alone, like or we know everything the best. Like always that good conversations, and you guys always look for areas of opportunity, which was pretty good. And you being very fair with your customers, the trade values was really helpful because there was some bigger dealers than you were, and some months you sold more cars than them, and that was interesting to see those results. Like you wouldn't expect a bigger metro dealership sold less cars than your store, and Chatham only has what 15,000 people, and it
Oh,
was
it's bigger than that. I think Chatham
uh,
Kent's like maybe twice that, or Chatham is, and then Chatham Kent's more like.
30, right? 30,000. But it was good stuff. I was
Yeah,
really happy to see that. Really good teamwork you guys put together.
yeah.
Um,
I think in 2020, I think there was one month where we were the only store in Ontario to achieve our factory target. Like that was kind of like a badge we wore proudly for a few months.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
no, you guys did amazing, and you wouldn't expect that because like you're not in a big market, right? Like you're not in some sort of something like London. You're not like Kitchener, you're not like Cambridge. Like those are bigger metro areas,
mhm.
and like you're not Windsor. So you're in between, and people can always shop your numbers and take it out. But despite the fact you actually pull business from there from sometimes, right? Which is a
At a
pretty
time, but
impressive
yeah,
thing.
yeah. I'm always more concerned about the ones we lose out of our market than the ones we gain, obviously.
Yeah.
That, but you've got to take some credit in our used car success. Like you did an awesome job with us. So I mean,
I guess I was in the right place at the right time.
yeah, I
We had
mean,
Lou there, and it was pretty good.
yeah, yeah. So you can take some of that credit too, John. It's
I'll
okay.
take 1% of that credit.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough.
1%.
Yeah.
No, it was good synergy going on. Uh, so what is your daily best practices you do, Todd? Like what do you do as a general manager, partner of a dealership, like day-to-day operations? Like, are you a micromanager, or you let people do their jobs, or like what is your style of management?
Well, I mean, listen, I do my best to try to keep a positive atmosphere, especially when we're in the climate we are, where there's like almost no new car inventory. Aside from the handful of cars I got on the lot or in the showroom, there's like one or two out on the lot. And, I mean, that can affect the morale of our sales staff. But so we got to keep it in the most positive environment. Am I a micromanager? No, you know me. I do let them manage, but we meet constantly. Like especially if let's say we're meeting with the used car manager, we want to look and make sure that our cars are priced right, that we're sourcing the best cars. Because obviously right now with today's climate, getting cars, especially used, is tough. You know what we're going to get for new, because the Honda has told us basically what we're going to get over the next 3 months. So, but used is a different animal. So, basically trying to stay on top of that. I meet with the service manager obviously regularly too, to make sure that we keep the techs busy and all that kind of stuff. Like I don't wait until the end of the month to say, oh geez, we didn't have a great month in service. Like we know daily. But there's no real magic. I come here every day and I want to make sure that everybody's productive.
Well, I think you being very humble there, but you guys have good practices in place, and I was actually surprised. I wasn't expecting from a small town dealer when I first met you guys, and when you told me about you had a BDC center and all that stuff, I'm like, well, you're not an auto group and you have your own BDC center for service. You're like, yeah, I got my own full-time person here and all that stuff. That's before COVID and everything, right? When you need to make those cost adjustments and stuff. But like you were always a big supporter of that database mining, and it was very good, and I think you should take some of that credit too, man, because you implemented all those things back in 14 and upcoming. Like this didn't happen overnight, right? This has been going on for years of investment to the processes. And
I chalk a lot of my skill up to Peter Hubbard. And just on the sales side, like I adapted that philosophy that he had, and it meant something. So from a sales process, like I trained it, so I certainly make sure it's running to the best my ability here. And essentially, our process is based on what the customer wants, right? Customer comes in the store, they want a price, we give it to them. Customers want payments. We make sure that everybody leaves here with payments. Trade numbers. Like I've worked in stores, I've seen stores that want to hold all that stuff back because of fear of what they'll do with numbers. And I just always felt like, you can't make a decision unless you have all the information. So I want to make sure you got all the information, and sometimes then some, right? So.
Well, definitely the way you do business is pretty contemporary, right? You're not an old school guy, and which is pretty, good to see that. And I remember the days we used to evaluate your look to book numbers on vAuto, and like 75% win ratio, and like everybody used to call you on it, said impossible, you can't do it. But I think that number was so high because you guys were highly targeted on your customers and that experience and paying what that car really worth, right? That really contributed in that 75%. And I'm sure there's always things fall through the cracks a little bit. Maybe it wasn't 75, maybe it was like 72%, but still very high, right?
It was high, yeah. I mean, again, if someone comes in and you just say, hey, your car's worth $5,000, and they don't believe it's enough. Well, where do people get their numbers for the values of their vehicles? Like I don't have too many customers in my career come up and say, hey, look, I happen to go on Black Book or some auction site and saw my car is worth $2,500. They're going on Auto Trader. They're looking to see what their retail, and that's so. If we establish the fact that that's where people shop for their value of their vehicle, then we have to kind of identify that when they're here. If not, you're going to tell them something that's $4,000 or $5,000, and in this time, maybe higher with the way the used car market is. And if you don't address that, then someone's going to leave your store with the feeling they didn't get enough. And like again, this isn't a secret sauce. It's everybody in the auto industry knows this, right? So thing is that we address it with the customer.
Well, the
Yeah.
problem is we know all the best practices and what we should be doing, and sometimes what we do that is we just don't want to execute it, right? What we know and embrace it, and that's the main challenge. That we know what needs to be done to earn that business, and sometimes we don't do it. Sometimes we know the fact that without taking care of the problem of the current car and get customer out of the current vehicle with the fair valuation on it, we know that there's no way we're going to be able to sell a car. And sometimes salespeople say, "Why don't you try to sell it privately?" I'm like, I think that's the worst kind of response we can give it to a customer. If let's say a customer comes in a car doesn't worth the money they think, right? And then salesperson still wants to say the deal and goes like, sell it privately and come back when you're ready. And like, I think these are the worst things you can say to a customer
Oh,
in a car
100%.
dealership.
100%. They're, yeah. I
And I
mean,
think they're still doing it. I can tell you that there are some dealers out there still tell their customers, why don't you try to sell it privately and see what happens? And like,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
luckily, uh,
It surprised me that practice still goes on, goes on in dealers. It really, basically, you're just asking the customer to leave, when you really think about it.
yeah, because they worry that they may offend the customer. Like if the car worth $1,500, justify that cost of $1,500. Tal, why is it $1,500? Because has rust, has this, kilometers, old car, this. Explain that to the customer and be reason with them. Don't just tell, you know what, your car worth $5,000 because I think it is 5,000. No, who cares what you think, right? Justify that.
Right.
But COVID changed a lot of things because of that new car inventory situation, that there's not enough cars out there. Now the values went up and dealers are starting to sell cars, what they have on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And then they learn how to sell a car without discounting it, right? Because
Yeah.
supply and demand. Less supply means high demand. And now you don't have enough new cars. That means you're not going to have enough used cars, because where are you going to pull those trades from? That's your bread and butter business.
Yeah.
And if you want to go buy cars at the auction, go ahead and do it if you can compete with those numbers there, which is through the roof right now.
Yeah.
But I mean,
In some cases, that's a source that you just have to realize that, maybe you do have to pay more at the auctions than you normally want. Just trust the fact that you will move the car.
yeah,
But
you just gotta keep a very close eye when you do that, because I believe things are very fluid. Because as soon as that new car inventory ramps up from the manufacturers, which eventually will, because they have no choice to do that, right? They didn't build those factories to run it once a week or twice a week. It's just not profitable for them.
no,
And
to me, that's going to be the interesting thing when things do rebound. And I don't have a crystal ball when it's gonna, but uh, when it does, to see what will change. I really truly believe that like I don't know too many dealers, and I can't speak outside the Honda world, that are reducing their sale price that much selling it. In this climate, we don't have any cars, and you're discounting. I don't know how you can pay your bills, but but the experience that a customer is having coming in and paying what we're suggesting, or the sort of the manufacturer's suggested price or value price or whatever you call it, by paying that, there's not that negotiation. As soon as someone doesn't, they want so much off, and then you're trying to hold on to whatever margin you can, it starts to diminish that customer experience. And sometimes people they just feel like there's so much more on the table. Like it's interesting when I hire people and we start, putting them through a training process. I always ask, point at a Civic or a CRV in the showroom, and I'll say, what do you think we paid for that car? And everyone thinks it's like shoes, where, like Sport Check goes and buys Nikes for $50 and sells them for $100, right? And it's amazing how many people think that there's so much markup in the car. It's just based off, what the price of the product is. And when they find out what it really is, it's like you could see the shock on their face, right? So, I mean, it's I guess what I'm trying to say is that, like, paying that price that we're selling the cars for is a really good deal when you think about it, right? You don't go
Yeah,
into
if you think about it, unfortunately, there's a lot of information out there that people tend to see, and some of that information is from United States sometimes, that they have different, incentives in place sometimes depending on the market.
yeah,
And there's a lot of speculations from people that, oh yeah, dealer has that thing called holdback, and they make $10,000 on a car like that. Which car sells for 20,000, which is illogical to think that way.
yeah,
But there's a lot of things, and the problem is this though in our industry sometimes that we're not too honest with the customers and explain to them and give that confidence that, hey, like, manufacturer sets that price on that car. This is a pretty good pricing and it's a fair value for it. And you don't give that confidence in the customer. So customer always thinks like, is there still room to negotiate? Maybe my neighbor got a better deal than I did. Can I squeeze another $500 here? Like,
yeah,
because we don't do a good job sometimes with our customers to build that confidence. They don't trust what we say, unfortunately. And I think one thing salespeople need to improve on is trust their word they say and be honest with them and straightforward. Like, hey, you're buying this entry level vehicle. It's a pretty good price. You're getting 2.99 interest rate and your payment is this much. And we're giving good money for your trade. Give that confidence to your customer. Don't
yeah.
play games.
If people knew the variable, then it would be, a different negotiation, right? Like if you think that it's like a 100% markup or something like that, then because you don't know because not knowing the variable makes the because it turns into a guessing game, right? Now, mind you, I don't go and tell people what the variable is, but we try to let them know it's
Come
not
on,
huge.
Benny, tell us the truth. You make 100%
I, I
markup.
mean, I mean, I always joke around with my dealer friends and say, one day I'm going to go in the grocery store and they ring it up at like $241, and I say, listen, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm not going to use my debit card. I'm going to give you $200 cash. Go talk to your guy. Just look at and go look, and go look at the clerk, the look on his or her face, right? We just don't do it. You don't go into Sport Check and start negotiating with them. But it's funny how we do that in the car business. And some, like I know that Hyundai has a Genesis line there that is, non-negotiable. It's the price is the price and all that. Like, I just wish that our industry as a whole wouldn't be just small pockets like that, where, it's like that across the board everywhere. And that's what I was saying earlier. Like, when inventories return to normal, I'd like to hopefully see that, as a whole, that we sell the cars closer to that price instead of making this a negotiation war.
I one thing in the car business that every dealer should aim to focus on is the new term called self-sustainability. So self-sustainability means that without spending a single penny on advertising dollars, you should still be able to hit your manufacturers or internal targets with your own database of customers, as long as you've been in the business more than 10 years, right? I'm not talking about a brand new store opens up their doors and expect to do that. But if you're a dealership and you've been in there in your same location more than a decade, you should aim to become a self-sustainable operation. Advertising is amazing. Marketing is the best thing to do it. But let's cover our basics first. Let's get to that self-sustainability target of, hitting our factory targets or internal targets with our existing service and sales customers by treating them nice, VIP white glove treatment, to bring them back to get cars. Get the referrals from them first. Then let's go outside and spend that $10,000-$15,000 a month minimum on advertising. That's my understanding of the future of the car business, because existing customers with the existing service with you, less likely to have that trust issues with you when you tell them this is your best possible price you can do it. because they
Yeah.
conducted that business with. They know Todd Bennet, they know Chris Degra, they know Lou, they know your staff. So when they come back for the second car 3-4 years later, you can convince them easier because you had that existing rapport. Well, what we do that is, you know what? Let's go out our PMA and advertise digital marketing so the manufacturer won't catch us. And then let's try to steal their business. Well, first become self-sustainable with your own clientele and then worry about stealing business from a competition. So, and that's the problem too. What happens when you try to steal a business from a competition? I give you a better deal. Like, what's your competitive edge? And we always say, I give you a better deal. I beat their deal by this. Like, what does it do for you? Number one, that service customer doesn't come back for service, right?
Yeah.
The second one is your CSI goes down because everything is based on, I give you a better deal.
Yeah.
And no relationship, nothing. I don't think that's the right practice to do it. So I think that's going to be the main challenge when that inventory ramps up and then the cars start arriving and dealers panicking like, okay, now we got to go back to the old way of doing business.
Yeah.
Tell that customer, what would it get you doing your business today? Things like that. I mean, it's good to try to close deals. You should always ask for a business, right? Always find a way.
Yeah.
But don't just, my sense is like 2 cents is don't only focus on the price. I give you a better deal, or don't go spend thousands of dollars wasting that money. Because one thing is this, the manufacturers do a phenomenal job advertising the product anyways, digitally. So
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
if you're going to do a digital advertising, your number one goal on the digital advertising should be targeting your own database, right?
Yeah.
Like, why would you like to go and trying to promote the brand that you sell? Okay, promote it, but you don't have to compete with the other brands with your advertising strategy, because manufacturers are giants. They're very smart people. Like, despite the fact that all the dealers think manufacturers don't know anything about the business, they have very good people working for them, and they make those digital marketing decisions based on the data. And they do really good conquest campaigns. And I'm talking about all the manufacturers, not one specific. Like, they're very smart at data, right? They're better than the car dealers. You got to trust and rely and, have faith in your manufacturer to let that competitive thing to do it. And then you focus on taking care of the customer who's contacting you, whether phone or e-leads or all those different mediums. Like, that's what I think. I don't know what you think about that, but.
Well, I mean, my market might be different. And when, like, I don't have another Honda store in the city I'm in, like some of the bigger cities do. But what I do, and we talked about, the size of Chatham Kent, and like I think the next closest dealer would be Windsor or London. But I look at all the people that basically, if you look from London all the way right down to Windsor Sarnia, how many people live there? There's a lot of people. Like, it's got to be close to 1.5 million people, maybe more. And there's a handful of Honda stores. There's plenty of people out there for us all to sell cars. So I really don't try to focus on outside my PMA. I mean, like, yeah, to me, it's not about selling the car and that's it. Like, we want to have a relationship where they come back and do service with us and all that kind of stuff. And you're right. I'm not going to drive personally. I don't think I'd drive over an hour to go get an oil change or, warranty work. I'd rather deal local. I'm hoping people think that way too. So yeah, and you know what it is, when you're thinking about conquest advertising, it is a crapshoot sometimes, because you don't know. Like, I don't know any car dealers anymore that put ads in the paper, but I remember like 10 years ago, there was dealers putting half-page colored ads in the paper, and they're spending boatloads of money. And then radio used to be a big thing. I don't know anybody that's advertising on the radio anymore. Like, to put that money into an on an average, knowing that you're not going to get a return on investment, or not know your return on investment, which is scary as well. So, it is, and that's why I think we focus on our database. Again, the store's been here for like almost 44 years. So there's lots of people that we can advertise to that, know what kind of business we are and how we can treat them. right?
Your own customers who did
Your own
actively doing
customers.
business with. You
Yeah.
remember the days we look at your database and we said, okay, so how many active customers been here to your dealership last 6 months? And we were like, wow, that's like thousands of people. That's amazing,
Yeah.
And like
I always
if you
thought it
could,
was interesting when you had us do the report where we looked at people that, did service with us, but didn't buy from us.
yeah,
And
that
then you
was a
look at
very
those
interesting
customers.
one.
Yeah. And then you look and see, what their service history was with us, and that they hadn't bought a car, and look at some of the distance that people were driving. Right.
Yeah.
So, and again, that's why it's important to make sure that we talk about CSI, that we keep our customers very happy too. So
Yeah.
people don't follow the funnel.
There's nothing more important in a car dealership than keeping, or any business, to keeping that customer happy.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't keep the customers happy and you're trying to, trying to keep yourself happy, it's gonna doom the business, right? And
Yeah.
and any kind of establishment focuses on customers, the rest will come after that easily.
Yeah.
So that's why the manufacturer's pushing the CSI too much, because like happy customers, bring more customers, and it only takes one upset customer to affect 100 sales. So uh, it's interesting. I actually have a question from Ramit. He basically asked, has COVID highlighted redundancies in the process? If so, what are they? How are you addressing it?
I don't think it has. I mean, the sales process still works. I think that there's some things we're more cautious in, like when it comes to test drives. Obviously, that is a little different. But the only thing that I could say that we've really not changed, but maybe focus more on, is that when we greet a customer and meet a customer, we immediately want to look at their car. As a sales manager, if you're looking at a car, let's say that's something you normally wouldn't keep, something that would be maybe say it's I'm a Honda store, so it's a Ford Mustang, and I'm looking at it in October. Do I really want a GT Mustang? Well, normally in a sales process in most stores, that sales manager is going to get that information on that car, like after they've gone on a test drive, after they think, hey, this is the car we might, get some more detailed numbers on, and let's look at that car now. Well, you're going to give your sales manager about 15 to 20 minutes to decide if he wants that car or not. But just imagine if he had that information, or she had that information at sort of the second step of that sale. So while that customer's looking at a car, getting the walk around, going on a test drive, and now that sales manager might have 45 minutes to decide, hey, this might be a car I want. Get some time to do some research. So I insist that we get that information as soon as possible. And we talked earlier about look to book, right? And having that high percentage of look to book. I'm starting to let that go. I had stepped in our sales meeting on Monday with the sales people and said, I want as many appraisals in there as possible. I'm not really so looking at the closing ratio on it. Is that right now we need to buy as many used cars as we can. And the more information that we can put in there, the more appraisals we can do, the more likelihood that we can buy some cars and not have to go to the auction, or not have to, try to buy it from another lot here around. And it becomes financially almost impossible. Right. So, but, the best ways to get good used cars are from people that, have done business with you, about it, or they're local and all that kind of stuff. So I want as much of that information early on, where I know a lot of dealers, used car managers don't want to look or put numbers on cars or appraise cars or anything like that unless there's a purchase going to happen. Where
Right.
I've abandoned that. I want, like it's February, like, how busy are we? So I don't know if I'm answering this question or not, but that's the only real thing that I've focused on is like, let's start appraising them really early. So I have a lot more time to decide if that's a car we're going to buy for the lot, or maybe we're going to wholesale or put it on an auction. Giving yourself more than 10 minutes to make a decision on something like that. And also, listen, our customers come in. It's a unique business because the majority of the time someone's buying a car from us, right? They're also selling us something. You don't go to a furniture store with your old couch and see what you're going to get for it, right? But they do with your car. There's no, like, it's such a unique business that way, right?
Yeah.
So customer comes in, they want to know what they're going to pay for a new car and what you're going to pay for theirs. So let's draw that attention up front on their car and get that going, And then again, I'm going to give them some details that maybe a lot of dealers aren't going to give out of fear, right? I'm not afraid to lose business because I gave someone information. I'm afraid to lose business if I don't give that customer information, if that makes any sense, right? I just find it funny. I've gone into stores as a trainer. I've gone into stores and just watched how salespeople are afraid to give people price and payments, right? I've been in stores where they say, well, how much is that car? And they'll go over to a car that's $100,000 and say, well, it's $99,000 plus tax. And that's the price the customer is not going to pay, right? Like that customer is most likely going to make monthly payments on it, right? That's really what the customer is asking, right? And to run away from that and not give that person information because you're afraid they're going to take that information to another store and shop. Well, if you don't give them the information, then they're going to go to someplace that will and probably do business there. So,
well, make your experience such a pleasant experience so that they will make the purchase when they come to your store, because you only, if you look at the data coming from these companies like Google and all those data analytics company, right? They say customers only go to 1.6 dealerships before they pull the trigger. Well, that means you're very high chances of selling that customer when they're in front of you. So then if you give them what they want and treat them nice and convince the fact that this is a right place to conduct business, why would they leave the store and somewhere else? They already made their decision anyways. They already put their heart and soul on that car before they come. If your car wasn't good, they wouldn't be sitting in front of you to begin with.
Yeah.
Right? They would just test drive and says, okay, we'll come back later and just disappear, right? Or they wouldn't even come there to begin with. Like, do you ever go to the restaurant that doesn't taste the way you want, right? Like, you don't do it.
Yeah.
People spend a lot of time online, find out what car they want. They just want to confirm that if you're the right place to conduct that business. Give them the feelings, earn their business. Very straightforward process.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right.
You're right. Oh, and I think you're bang on that ratio as well. And I remember just a quick story when I was training at a store, and I remember asking them if someone came in and asked for a brochure, would they consider that person an up or a lead? And they said no. And I was like, so, well, they're just coming in to get information. And I was like, anybody that pulls a handle on that door, they wouldn't come in here unless they wanted to buy a car. Like, maybe not today, maybe not next month, but who would go to a car dealer to get a brochure, or who would go to a car dealer just to like look at something and I'm going to buy a car eventually in my life. Like, obviously there's some interest, right? And I just couldn't get through to him. And I said, just imagine if you went to Shoppers Drug Mart or you work there, and I went into Shoppers Drug Mart. I'm down in the shampoo aisle. And say, hey, how can I help you out? Well, no, I'm just gathering information today. I don't know if I'm going to get the Pantene or whatever, but I'm going to look around. I'm going to go to Rexall and see what they got theirs on for, and I'm going to get it for the best price. No, if you're going in there, you're going to buy it, right? So, I'm not delusional to think that everyone that's going to come in here is going to buy a car and they're going to buy from me today. But I believe that if I do everything right, that there's no reason to leave, right? You'd be sitting there again, 26 years. I've they've only got 10 minutes. They gotta go pick up their kids. Well, I'm a father of 3. If I've only got 10 minutes, if I only have 10 minutes, I'm not gonna put myself in a situation where I could be late picking them up, So, I always think about what they're saying, right? They're not saying I got to pick up my kids in 10 minutes. You only have 10 minutes to wow me. And if there's any extra time, then you have to earn it, right? I've had people all my career, only 10 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour and a half later, they're still here, right? Because we built value of why they should stay or why we got more than 10 minutes.
Or think this way.
You can get me going.
But think this way too, Todd. Like, let's say a customer, because there's going on there. Let's say the customer is in the process of negotiating, right? And there's a hot negotiation going on back and forth, right? And the salesperson comes to you, says, unless we give them this, they're gonna walk away. And like, you're looking at your GP, you're like $700 gross you're holding, and like custom wants another 1,000 off, and all of a sudden you go out there's a manager and like, explain to them, and somehow the deal is closed. And then they go to the business office and they spend another $3,000. I'm like, then your salesperson used to tell you they don't have money to spend. Okay, but how did they spend more in the business office? Because the business manager did a better job explaining the packages available for their benefit, and the customer said that makes sense. Because as a salesperson, you didn't do a good job explaining to them why this is the price of the car. You know what I mean? Like, it's so fun. How many times that happens, right? Oh,
yeah.
Unless you give $5 off from the payment, they're not going to do it. And they go to the business office, they leave with $30 more payment. And then you tell the salesperson, what happened? He's like, I don't know. I'm like, I tell you what happened. Your business manager did a better job than you did.
Yeah.
Explaining that customer.
I think people have two budgets too. I think they have what they kind of want to save on the car and and what they want to spend on protecting it too. Again, I don't have any data to support that, but that's just my gut.
I think it's all about relationship and how much trust you can build with your customers and how good of a job you do satisfying their purchase needs is the secret.
Mm-hmm.
There's really nothing specific about this. Just greet customers with a smile, answer the questions, do your job presenting the product, do your test drives, right?
Yeah, give them what they want. Give them what they want.
Give them the data they need, and ask for the business. Nothing wrong with asking the business. Ask for it. What do you think? But don't try to play games like, oh, I'll appraise your car when you're ready to. Are you ready to buy today, sir? What kind of question is that? Like,
Yeah.
They're disrespectful, right? But it is what it is. Todd, time flies by with you, man. Like, normally I do these for 30 minutes. We're like almost in 50-minute mark now. I just realized that. Wow. No, it's okay. I have no issue. I guess Ramit said your answer is good. Refocusing when you action the trade-in process. Thank you. Ramit's a smart guy. He's a very analytical guy. So he was the DRM and we used to do dealer visits together, and smart guy. So we're almost the same age. And Brent Jewers, by the way, Brent Jewers is the guy who brought me in the car business more than 13 years ago back in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And he's like my first mentor in the car business.
I wonder if he has regret. I'm kidding.
Oh, for sure he does. Like, he always says, why do we let people like you in the car? No, I'm kidding. He doesn't say that. But Brent is the guy who thought all the basics in the car business. I learned from him. And he said, sometimes a good dealer is simply left holding the bag after a bad experience at another store. So many things go wrong before they ever set a foot in your store. So so that happens too, right? Customer comes from a different dealership where you had a bad experience. But, well, good stuff. Anything, Todd, before you wrap it up, you want to add? I think it was a good conversation. You're someone that I respect a lot. And how about staffing? Are you hiring people? Are you looking for people to work for you? What's the situation there?
Yeah. I mean, listen, you could probably ask that to every dealer that you talk to. But and the answer would be, yes. So I think currently we are looking for a service advisor, and think Chris is looking for a salesperson. So
Chris Degras, nice.
Yeah,
Chris is a phenomenal guy. I wish maybe I'll do a podcast with him too one day.
Yeah, you should. You
Yeah,
should.
he's a good fella. So you're looking for salesperson and a service advisor, and how do they reach you? Like, where do they send those resumes, or how do they apply for these jobs?
Well, you can
If
send
they
it to
look,
me directly. My email is real easy. It's todd@chathamhonda.com.
okay, no
Or
spamming them there,
contact
right?
us, go to our website and call us. Yeah.
Okay. And Todd, if somebody has any questions, let's say a young person wants to come into the car business and they're looking for some questions, like not a mentor, but like, quick questions, maybe a student, currently a student in school, or maybe, we got a lot of students in this automotive business college and they're looking to get into the car business. You don't mind answering people's questions, right? If somebody shoots you a quick email or they want to
No
give you a quick
problem.
call, hey Todd, all that stuff. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things we, I think, need to focus on car business as professionals. That young people want to come into the business. I think they should be able to reach us out and, hey, what do you think? What should I do? I think that's a good kind of stuff too, because not very many people consider car business when they're looking for a career, and I think it's a very rewarding career. And everybody wants to be like, I got to get an office job, and like, yeah, it's good, but if you're a successful salesperson, you can go your way up, and like yourself, right? You started as a salesperson, you made your way up, now you're a partner in a dealership, and I think it's a lot more rewarding than just having an office job too, right? And it's fun
Mhm.
because there's a
Yeah.
lot more interpersonal relationships. So, well, Todd, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Uh,
Thank you.
we'll keep in touch, and thank you everybody watching our and listening our podcast today. Next week, Todd, I'm gonna have Dave Barber and Sam Barber from Northern Honda.
Oh, right on.
Oh
Right on.
yeah,
Another
it's
good dealer.
it's gonna be an interesting, because my concept is normally 1-on-1, and next week I'm gonna have 2-to-1, and barbers are they're strong. You don't want to mess with them, so
No,
they're
good
hockey
thing you're not in
family.
the same room.
They're big hockey family, so good stuff, man. Thank you for your time. I
Thank
wish you all
you.
the best. Hope you sell lots of cars. Oh, Jeannie said, good seeing you. Well, thank you,
Oh,
Jeannie.
awesome. Hi, Jeannie.
Jeannie, my boss, Jeannie, I reported to her for 3 years. Oh, I'll tell you something. Todd, I have to confess this. I thought I know how to read financial statement before joining Honda, like, because I worked in the business, I thought. But what I learned from Jeannie Tremblay, it's a lot. And she really helped me how to analyze the data in a logical sense. And I thank you her for that. And I wish everybody a great day, and talk to you guys later. Thank you
All
very
right.
much. Have a great
Thank
day.
you.